So I think we're going to start. Hi everyone, thank you for being here today. My name is Olivier, and I'm going to talk to you about the experience we had doing live tests on Rainbow Six Siege. First of all, I would like to apologize for my accent. I'm French, you figured it out. Not from Ubisoft France, but from Ubisoft Montreal. Okay, sorry. And at Ubisoft Montreal, we are known for our big brands like Far Cry, Assassin's Creed, Watch Dogs. And what those games have in common is a big focus on the single player campaign and an open world. And that, in terms of user research and user testing, we know how to do, and we do it pretty well, also I've been told. Now, for Rainbow Six Siege, that's a different story. I'm not going to spoil you anything. I'm going to obviously come back to that during the presentation, but it's an online game, and the main focus was its multiplayer aspect. And only with that, it had a big impact on the way we were doing user research and user testing. And this is what I'm going to try to explain to you throughout this presentation. A couple of about myself. I'm a game intelligence analyst at the User Research Lab of Ubisoft Montreal. For the past years, I've been working in risk management, then risk analytics, and moved to game analytics. And I've been working on games out of big movie franchise and TV franchise, as well as some Ubisoft big brands, Assassin, Far Cry, and Siege, obviously. So today, I'm going to briefly explain to you what's the franchise, what is the Rainbow Six game, and how Siege fits into that. I'm going to explain to you the challenges that we had in terms of gameplay, how we did user testing, why we did live tests, with some example doing for game balancing, and also explain to you how live test impacted our team, my team, the analytics team, in terms of the way we communicated with the dev team, and in terms of how we were structured in order to report to the developers. Disclaimer, everything that you're about to show, that I'm about to show and that you're about to see in the presentation, all the figures are test data. They do not reflect the current state of the game, obviously. So, Rainbow Six, the franchise, the games. Quick question, raise your hand. How many of you guys have you played a Rainbow Six game before? Any of them? Cool, cool. What about Siege? Nice. So, I'm gonna be like really brief. Rainbow Six, the first game, released in 1998. The last one before Siege was Vegas 2 in 2008. As you can see, there is a big gap between 2008, Vegas 2, and Siege in 2015. That really gives us the opportunity to really rethink, revamp the whole brand, the whole franchise, and bring a very new, cool experience to the player. Now, what is a Rainbow Six game? It's a tactical first-person shooter. FPS, everybody know what it is. Tactical, what does that mean? Two things, slow pacing and high lethality. Slow pacing because it's not a Duke Nukem, it's not a Call of Duty. You have to plan your strategy, you have to plan your move in advance. There is no jumping, running is not that used in the game. It's much more slower. High lethality, well, basically it takes one bullet to kill you. Now Siege. It had moved towards, online game, moving towards a more multiplayer, team-based approach. I'm not saying that there wasn't any multiplayer aspect in any other Rainbow Six game before, but for Siege, it's the main focus. Couple of thoughts about big gameplay aspect of the game, the destruction. A great portion of the environment is destructible. The floor, the ceiling, the walls, for the players to create new paths, new line of fire, new way to execute their strategy. Team deathmatches. Every match in Rainbow Six Siege are multiplayer matches and team deathmatches. That's really a big change from the rest of the games from the franchise. And I'm not saying that there is no single player content in Siege, but once again, the main focus was multiplayer. And there is also, and I'm going to come back to that later, giving you more details, but there is like in-game and economic progression, allowing the player to unlock some content within a game. So now, back to, or going to the challenges in terms of user research and user testing that the gameplay of Siege gave us. First challenge, asymmetric rounds. A match is played on a best of 5 rounds, where the player play alternatively attackers and defenders. The first round they play attackers, the next round they're going to play defenders, and so on until the end of the match. One of the main challenge, in terms of gameplay, you don't want to have a side stronger than the other. You don't want to start having like a winning pattern for the attacker or for the defender that would ruin the experience of the players. Another challenge, the operators. The operators in Siege are the character, the class, if you want. They are attacking operators, defender operators. They have their unique abilities. One operator has a shield, another one has like a special breach charge, another one has like a heartbeat sensor. So unique abilities and also unique pick. At the beginning of each round, the players choose one operator, and one operator can only be picked once per round. The other players need to choose from the remaining operators. The following round, all the operators become available again for everybody to choose, but that's unique pick. Main challenge, gameplay-wise, for these operators, once again, the balancing. You don't want to have better operators than the others. That would, once again, ruin the experience, but make Siege a very unbalanced game and not that fun to play. PvP and PvE. While PvP, player versus player, a team of 5 players against another team of 5 players. PvE, player versus environment, it's a team of up to 5 players playing against the AI. They share similarities. They have their own game modes, but they share the operators, the maps. And obviously, when you're talking about gameplay, balancing, again, you don't want, if you do a tweak on the operators for PvE, it's going to impact the PvP, and vice versa. So that was challenging for the team and for us also. And last but not least, the esport ambition we had for the game. The competitive aspect of Siege really allowed us to have a strong ambition to make Rainbow Six Siege for the esports scene. And if you take all the other points alone, asymmetric rounds, operators, PvE, PvP, they may not be that challenging in terms of gameplay, in terms of balancing, but if you had the esport ambition that we had for the game, that became much more challenging for us. So now that you get the challenges, let's see what we did in terms of user testing. I'm not going to come back to what I call classic user testing. Everybody's familiar with what a playtest is. Obviously, we did many of them for Siege, having also some in-game tracking, where we track every single action or behavior of the player within a game, gameplay, customization, progression, monetization. We do that with over 60 tracking events. What's an event? That's a kill, it's a round, it's a match, it's a spawn. And that gave us around 500 data points. What's a data point? If I'm taking the example of a player kill, It's the weapon used, it's the location of the killer, the location of the player who died, the map, the operator, etc., etc. So where am I going with that? We talked about the balancing challenge that we had. So one question that you may have is, with all this setup, how do I test the multiplayer balancing of a game with all these features? 10 maps, 4 defense locations per maps, 20 operators, 7 game modes, 35 weapons, 27 gadgets. Whatever you do, you will need a high volume of data in order to accurately report on gameplay on balancing. So, classic user approach, you collect as many data as possible during a session, and you look at win ratio, for instance. So you see me coming. I'm a statistic guy, I like numbers. Let's see just if I'm taking only PvP data. 3 mode, 10 maps, 4 defense location. That's 120 combination for the setup of a round. 20 operators, 10 on each team, 5 players on each team. That's more than 63,000 team combinations. You do the math, that's more than 7 million possible rounds. And if I'm telling you that a round lasts approximately 3 minutes, and it takes 10 players to play a match, you will need more than 43 years of non-stop gaming to test PvP. Now wait a minute, I'm forgetting voluntarily the gadget, the weapon, and here I am only testing one combination, on all the combinations once, which is far from enough if you want to do balancing, obviously. So, and yes, that does not really make sense. You don't need to test every single combination in the game. You just need to test the right combination, the combination that are key for your games. You have all the playtests if you want to do a level design, maps, kind of analysis. But obviously we want to test all the operators. So you just have to test all the operators on like a representative sample of maps. But still, you will have to test quite intensively every single key combination in order for you to be able to analysis, balancing, or gameplay for the game. You need to upscale your tests. And that's what we did. So instead of asking a small amount of players to play for a very long time, we took the opposite approach and we asked a huge amount of players to play for a very short time. And that's what a live test is all about. We did 3 iterations of them, all on a reduced scope, to really focusing on high volume and key combinations. The first iteration that we did was the closed alpha, a week in April. The game launched in December. We tested only PvP, and we collected more than 400,000 of rounds worth of data. Second iteration, a couple of months later in September, the closed beta, and I'm including the first couple of days were technical tests. And we tested PvP and PvE, and we collected more than 82 million of rounds worth of data. And the last one, the open beta, a couple of days before the launch. And for this one, we collected more than 100 million of rounds worth of data. So that's cool. And one of the things that is really cool about live tests is that they are not in a calibrated environment like the playtest. So the players are really allowed to do whatever they want in the game. And that's really helped us, user research perspective, to do many things that you cannot do with the classical user approach with the playtest. We've been able to evaluate the matchmaking under full stress condition and improve it with the dev team. We were able to explore every single aspect of gameplay that is impossible to do in small samples, hence the balancing. And we were also able to estimate the retention potential of the game before the launch. Now, you have all the tracking in place, you do your live test, you collect a huge volume of data. If I'm going back to the game balancing objective that we have, our challenge, how do we tackle that? What do we do when analyzing balancing? Well, you have to look at every level of details present in your game. So we looked at platform. We wanted to see how PC players were doing in comparison to console players. We looked at PvP versus PvE players. We look at attack versus defense. We look at win ratio per maps, kills per rounds, win ratio per game modes, round duration. We looked at a bunch of things, and you get the point. So now I'm going to jump on how we used those points to analyze the first test that we did, the closed alpha. I'm pretty sure you guessed it already. The balancing was fantastic. Yeah, not so much. Defenders were winning more often than attackers, like way more often. That was our first results, 61% of the time. So that's crucial to know. You want to know that, obviously, and you want to show that to the dev team. But it's not enough. That's not actionable. Actionable is a keyword that I've been hearing today. The dev team needs something with a little bit more details. And so that's what we did. We looked at round duration and round results for our game. Before showing you the details, I need to explain to you the victory conditions for rounds, just for the sake of understanding the rest. Every match is team deathmatch. So the first win condition is obviously to eliminate all the opponents. Then every match has a game mode specific, and every game mode has an objective. Extract the hostage, disarm the bomb, secure area. So one objective for the attackers is to obviously complete it. If I'm taking the example of extracting the hostage, the attacking team has to reach the hostage and extract him to safety. The defenders, what they do, they need to prevent the attackers to reach the hostage and take him to safety. And they do that by playing the time, playing the clock. Every round is time limited. During the closed alpha, it was 3 minutes. So if by the end of the clock, if by the end of 3 minutes, the attackers haven't got the opportunity to take the hostage back, the defender would have won without any casualty in the attacking team. It's not recurring. So now we looked at round duration and end reason for rounds, and we saw that in 13% of the cases, the defenders were winning because time has expired, and that's quite a lot. Especially if you looked at the hostage extraction that was happening only 3% of the time. So that means that in more than 1 round out of 10, the defenders were winning because the attackers didn't have the time to execute the strategy, reach the hostage, or even engage into combat. So that's much more actionable for the dev team. So we were able to take this result back to the dev team and decided with them to increase the amount of time available to the attacking team, to the player for the round, from 3 minutes to 4 minutes, in order to let the attackers having more time to execute the strategy and to play the round. Sorry. With everything else that we did for the closed alpha, this one was our biggest win in terms of gameplay and balancing. That really allowed us to have a really much more balanced game at the end of the closed alpha. And just focusing on because I know you don't trust me, just focusing on the objective part of the win condition, that was the actual figures from after the closed alpha and the closed beta, and you see that it's much more balanced. So that's something that was very close to what game design intended for the game. So that's something that we didn't have to look then for the closed beta. And talking about closed beta, a couple of months later, I would have expected something much more balanced. It was the opposite. This time, attackers were winning more often than defenders. So, still not balanced game. We didn't have to look at the run duration and the run results. We looked at the operators, and especially shield operators, who are all attackers operators. Couple of words about the game design intention for those guys. 3 of them have shields that gave us much more protection than the other operators. And because they are shield, they cannot carry big weapons, so they are limited to pistols. And pistols are far less accurate and less lethal than other weapons. So it was really the trade-off for those guys: protection for less killing potential. So now let's have a look at the win ratio for those guys. And as you can see, shield operators had a win ratio far better than other non-shield operators. 4% for game designer, it's huge. It's a very, very big difference. So we looked at one other thing. We looked at kill-death ratio. And in terms of kill-death ratio, you can see that, wow, there is even a bigger gap between shield operators and non-shield operators. Again, that's something crucial to know. You want to know, obviously, if your operators are unbalanced, but that's not still actionable for the dev team, for the production. So we had to dig it a little bit deeper, and we split the kill-death ratio by what it is made of: kills per round and death per round. The first thing, death per rounds. You can see that shield operators tended to die less often than non-shield operators. Okay, if I'm going back to the design intention, shield, big amount of protection, they are able to take much more damage than the others. Hey, it looks fine to me. I mean, obviously they are going to die less. So the design objective seemed to be achieved. Let's have a look at the kills per round. And this is where the issue was. The shield operators had a much bigger kills per round ratio versus the non-shield operators. And so the less killing potential trade-off wasn't really the case here. So we were able to take that back to the dev team, and we made a decision to reduce the killing potential of those operators by reducing the accuracy of their weapons. And again, this really was a game changer in terms of gameplay and game balancing for Siege. We didn't stop at the operators for closed beta. We looked at the maps. And the first results that came out of the maps analysis that we did was, smaller maps seem to be in favor of attackers. The map on the left is House, very small map, 63% wins for the attackers, in comparison to Consulate, which is a much bigger map, 56% of wins for attackers. Now we wanted to go a little bit further into the analysis, and from all the analysis that we did, we understood that it wasn't really the size of the map that matters. It was the defense location chosen by the defender at the beginning of the round. At the beginning of the round, the defending team had to choose between 4 locations on each map. And the graph here shows you the win ratio for every single location, attackers in yellow and defenders in dark blue. And you see that the win ratio is highly depending on the location chosen by the defending team at the beginning of the round. 71% on zone B and 55% on zone B. Let's have a look at the same graph, but adding a new dimension to that. And I'm adding the peak rate. So the taller the bars are and the more peaked the location was chosen by the defending. And you can see that, hey, players are no fool. They tend to choose the location where they have the more chances to win. 45% for defending on zone D versus 34% for zone C. So we did many tweaks gameplay-wise, including the operators, and that really allowed us to have a much more balanced win ratio for every single location for the maps. We can still see that players tend to prefer some location in comparison to other, but now they are at least all balanced. One of the cool things that live test allowed us to do was live adjustments. Sometimes during a test, the production or the dev team doesn't have the luxury to wait until the end of the test to be able to do some tweak in the game, to some modification, to wait for another test to start and to see how the modification impacted the game. They want the modification to be live and see live what's going on in the game. And that's what we did for what we call the renown. The renown is the soft currency in Siege. You use that to unlock new operators, new weapon attachments, skin, and such. And it is based out of the score of a match. So the more you play matches, the more you win matches, the more you do headshots, you use gadgets, you use destruction of the environment, and the better your score will be, and the more renown you will gain at the end of the round or at the end of the match. That was very hard for the game designer to predict the amount of renown that the player will be able to gain on an hourly basis. They had the target value in mind that they wanted the player to have for a balanced game, a good progression, but they didn't know how to tweak the score to renown formula in order to reach this target value. So we were able to help them by showing them the observation on the renown gain throughout the live test. And I'm going to show you what we did for PvP only. The red line is the target value. Sorry, the numbers are actually confidential, but you get the point. And the blue line is the observation. And that was during the closed beta. And the first or second day, the game designer made a change into the gameplay, into the game. But it wasn't actually about the score to renown formula. It was they reduced the number of rounds within a match. So players were able to play more matches per hour, thus gaining more renown at the end of the hour. But we did tweak the formula 1 or 2 days after the first patch, and we had a pretty good result going back to the amount of renown gained hourly from at the beginning of the closed beta. And a couple of days before the end of the closed beta, we were able also to make a last tweak to the formula, and we reached the target value intended for PvP. For PvE, that's a different story. I don't have the graph, but it was much more difficult because of the aspect of PvE. PvP, it's easy. It's 5 players on each team, and you have to be 10 to start a game. PvE, it's up to 5 players, so you can play alone. You can play in 2, 3 to 5. So, killing 30 terrorists alone instead of killing 5 terrorists each, that's really changed your score, and obviously you have to take into account the difficulty also. But so we had to do other adjustments during the open beta and even at the beginning of the launch. But now we do have a good balanced progression, PvE and PvP. So to conclude on the game balancing, During the closed alpha, we really were able to tackle the big issues. And that really allowed us to discover the forest behind the tree. The issues that were so prominent in closed alpha, we fixed them, and we were able to tackle smaller, still significant, but smaller issues during the closed beta. And that allowed us to confirm our results in the open beta to launch a pretty good, balanced game in December. So one very important thing is, like playtest, you have to do multiple iterations of live test if you want to make sure that you get all the gameplay issues, including balancing. Sorry. So we saw how live test data impacted us in terms of user research, user testing, what we did. Now let's see how live test impacted the analytics team in terms of communication and structure to report back to the dev team. What I'm calling the former reality, which is really pre-launch, working during the production, you have one client, you have one partner, it's a dev team. You have time to provide a very detailed analysis report. You have a complete set of analytic dashboards, and you have many opportunities to meet with the team to gather requirements or to give them feedback after a playtest. Now, during a live test, that's totally different. It's the time frame is much more shorter. The amount of effort and resources, money and people are such that now the whole company is watching. It's not the dev team anymore. It's marketing, sales department, it's the HQ, it's the editorial that are all waiting for your results or waiting for to see how the game does during the test. So you don't look at gameplay anymore. You look at many other things. You look at matchmaking, acquisition, activity, monetization. And with this increase in scope, there is also an increase in the volume of decisions that are impacted by your analysis. So basically, you have to deliver more in a shorter time frame. So how did we do that? I'm going to start with the obvious. You need to have a deep knowledge of the game. It is true, it was true for user testing, it is now very true for analytics. Everything is rushed, no time for you to bother the game director or the game designer to explain to you a particular feature in the game. No. You have to know the game if you want to provide accurate analysis. You have to be where the action is. That's what I like about this picture. The column. That's your team, that's the team, and you need to be part of your team. You need to support the team. You need to be with those guys. Maybe not the guy in front, okay? But still, visibility is key here. You need to be visible for them to be able to count on you. We are moved toward a more proactive approach during the live test. We work in sets. So we have one user research project manager on the floor with us, with the production. We are 2 analysts dedicated to Rainbow Six Siege on the floor. And behind us, supporting us, we have the whole team, the whole user research lab. We have data scientists, dev BIs, user researchers, and such. And we created also with the dev team a kind of a 2-3 person teams. So it's now one analyst with the game designer in charge of the new feature in the game. It's one analyst with the game designer in charge of the current feature in the game. It's one analyst with the monetization people. I'm not saying it's a different analyst each time, but now we are facing the dev team and we are included in the thinking and decision process of all the core aspects in the dev team, working with them. And last one, we try to introduce as much as possible a data culture within the company and within the dev team. And how do we do that? Stating the obvious, the famous or infamous newsletter. We do that showing KPIs of the games to all the dev team and to all the company. But we also use kind of a similar way of communication to try to communicate as much as possible on our work. I'm giving you an example. We receive an analysis request from HQ. We evaluate it, we prioritize it, and obviously we do it. If it's important enough for HQ to have some kind of analysis, why shouldn't it be for the rest of the dev team or for the rest of the company? So what we do is, for obviously relevant analysis or relevant results, we try to communicate them not only for the people who asked it, but for all the dev team, in order really for them to understand how is their game working and how or what can we do with the data we collect from their game or from our game. We also have a complete set of analytic dashboards for every single aspect of the test. We have for playtests, for the closed alpha, for the closed beta, even even live today. And that's for everybody. That's available to everybody. We have a specific dashboard showing KPIs of the game displayed on TV all around the building, in the coffee area, in the lobby. So everybody can see in terms of data, in terms of KPIs, how Siege is doing. And we have that also on other productions, and people are now becoming more and more familiar with certain KPIs, and now are even waiting for certain KPIs from production to others. And we have also a blog where we put our analytic works for everybody again to see. So if I ask the question, do you know what is the team dashboard set that is the most consumed in the dev team? Question, I can have many answers. Is it management dashboard? Not that much. Management are, they do look at analytic dashboards, but it's more post-launch than pre-launch. Is that the level designer? Level designer still use our dashboard, but they are not the most consumed dashboards. Game designer, I've been talking about game design for the past 30 minutes. I really wish game designer were the one consuming mostly our reports. They really do, but it's not the best or the most consumed. It's the sound dashboard. Sound guys, yeah, blew my mind away. During production, one of the game designer came to us and he saw what we did in terms of dashboard and analysis for the game designer and the level designer. And he wanted to have also some in-game tracking in the game to track sounds that are played in the game. And he wanted also to have good dashboards to see the differences between the sound banks and stuff. And we provided the team with a dashboard and with some in-game tracking. And as of today, they are the team that consume most of our work in terms of daily and weekly view. So that's it. I mean, the more visible you are to the dev team, and the more people you will see coming to you asking to help them making a better game at the end of the day. So, key takeaways from that. The first thing, live tests really allowed us to collect a huge amount of data that we needed in order to analyze and have a great impact on the balance of the game. Second, multiple iteration. Complexity in our games today is such that you cannot rely on one test to make sure that everything is well balanced or well done in the game. It's like in playtest. I mean, you have to have several iterations of tests for you to make sure that everything is well done. And you need to be proactive. You need to know your product. You need to make sure that your insights are the input of any decision made by the dev team. You really need to be part of the thinking process and make yourself visible to the dev team. That's it. So I have 30 minutes for questions.
Yeah, first of all, just want to say I thought you did great, so thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Okay, so as you said many times, being a multiplayer-based game, balancing is especially important for this game, and it also, on top of that, it gained a lot of traction in this competitive scene with the esports backing. So, I guess my question is, when it comes to balancing the competitive scene versus more the casual scene, those are two different styles of play. So, do you keep the competitive aspect in mind when balancing? Because if a lot of these numbers you put up, I'm sure look very different and from that style of play. Mm-hmm. So, do you keep that in mind? And if so, does one weigh heavier than the other? That's
a good question. When you try to look at balancing or balance in a game, at first, I mean, if the game is good enough for everybody, and if it's balanced enough, it will be balanced for competitive players. And we do look at not competitive matches and competitive matches, but it's part of the same analysis. It's the same operators that they use, it's the same maps, the same modes, the same. So if you see something happening in the casual scene, it will appear in the professional scene. And if it happens on the professional scene, you can be sure that it will happen on the casual scene. So yes, we are aware of the fact that casual players and pro players will play differently, but the balancing aspect is looked in a similar way, I say.
Thank you.
And keeping in mind that Rainbow launched in December, and the first competitive event was a couple of days ago, so it's still very new even for us in terms of analytics.
Thank you, that was great. I was wondering if you put in any of the qualitative aspect with a lot of the data that you show, or if those are handled by completely separate groups?
No, we did that. I mean, we are part of this. The User Research Lab is divided into user testing and analytics, but we are the same team. And obviously, we play with qualitative data as much as quantitative data during the playtest. Here for live test, we didn't do any qualitative. No, that's not true. We did some. There was some survey at the end of each iterations, but on the analytics work that we did, we didn't touch at any qualitative data on my side. User research, user testing, they did some other analysis and they used qualitative data, but not for the work I showed you today.
Yeah, with that sample size, it would suck to go through the qualitative part. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, you mentioned kind of 2 to 3 person cells that were working on this kind of analysis.
Yeah.
Did you ever have data engineers on those cells, or was it just an analyst and a production specialist working with like a central data infrastructure?
It depends on who is in front of you. My main contact on the team are game designers, level designers, more on the design side. But we do have data engineers who are talking to the people who are integrating the events into the games. So it really depends on your specialty and what you want to do in terms of work.
In your testing, I know most of what you did, it sounded like, was large volume testing. Were you able to do anything as far as making the game more usable for people with various impairments, or were you able to look at that kind of thing with sort of the write-in answers? You know, did you ever see things like, I had trouble manipulating controls, or the timing was bad, or anything like that?
My work was specifically on live test, and so live test, I had no idea who are the player, what setup do they have, and I mean most of the work we did during the live test, everything is like aggregated. So I honestly I have no idea what if they had some significance for the team or.
Fair enough.
Sorry about that.
So were you mostly just kind of selecting different aspects of the data to throw up on the dashboard? Did you do any kind of more advanced kind of analyses, and how did you prevent any kind of misinterpretation of if it wasn't, this is lower, but it doesn't really mean anything?
Well, everything we do, every dashboard works graphic that we make. It's not for us. It's what the dev team wants, what the game designer wants, what the level designer wants, what the sound guys want. So every single thing that we do came out of a first question from somebody within the dev team. So, and all the results that we put on our reports, on our dashboards, are first shared with the people relevant for this particular analysis, and every single results are analyzed with those guys, and that's how we make sure that there is no wrong or false interpretation of the data. No, we really work very close to the game designer. I mean, literally that's the guy I can touch the shoulder of the game designer working with me. So I have a question, I just ask him, and sometimes I mean, hey, I see this weird pattern. Am I missing something? And oh yeah, we released like a patch 2 days ago, and it has this impacted. And thank you for telling me. And so that's no.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Great talk.
Thank you. No.
Hi, thanks for the talk. Did you guys look at, or have you done any testing, qualitative research with the pro players from your recent event?
Once again, the first pro matches happened a couple of days ago. We really want to track and to get more analysis on the pro scene. It's coming.